Hey, it's Rabbi Bregman of the Jewish Executive Learning Network and BregmanSuccess.com. I don't know if you're feeling the look, but I'm on my way out the door to a simcha, a happy occasion of one of my neighbors. So this is it. I have time for a quick video. I want to share some thoughts with you, because if I don't get this out now, this video is not going to happen. The concept is this. I had an interesting phone conversation yesterday, once again, with a Talmud of mine, a student of mine. And he reached out to me, and we had a heart-to-heart. Now, this is a fairly learned fellow, pretty learned guy, knows Torah pretty well. When I have conversations like that, and when people are asking me for questions or direction, and for example, a man calls me up and he's more learned, I'm able to direct him more to sources, specific Torah sources that he can work on and work through ideas. So let me just share with you what his question was, some of the sources that he gave back to me. And then I'm going to run, because if I'm late for the bris, not only I'll miss the bris circumcision, you could miss the bagels and cream cheese and lox. And if you miss the bagels, the cream cheese, the lox, donuts, and the Tropicana, I mean, at that point, what did you go for, right? Okay, I'm just joking. Guy reached out to me, and what he wanted to know was this. He said to me, basically, he works very hard during the week, and he feels that... And he doesn't really feel it, but it's a feeling that bothers him, and he feels bad expressing it. But he feels that to some degree, his Judaism is messing him up. He feels that every 5 minutes that there's a Jewish holiday or a Shabbat, or he has to run to shul, to the synagogue, or to pray 3 times a day, and he feels to some degree that his Yiddishkeit, his Jewish observance and connection is sort of like slowing him down or giving him a hard time. Now, he doesn't really believe that it's a problem, but he's just going through a hard time because he's really trying to accomplish, and he just feels like he's still going, and then all of a sudden it's Shabbat, and he's got to stop for a day or day and a half. So he just asked for some chizuk, some inspiration, some strengthening, some sources I could maybe give the guy to encourage him. So he wasn't really, it's not that he was really thinking his Judaism is messing him up, but he's just like, I'm going through a hard time. Can you give me some stuff? Give me some stuff to work on. So let me share with you some nice sources that I shared over with him. And I think that this conversation I had with him will be of benefit to you. God willing, after I post the video, maybe I'll link to some of the sources, maybe up here, wherever it'll look right. And that way maybe you can have some of the primary sources. If you have access to it or the technical skill, you can go work on these sources yourself. A couple things I told him. Number one, I said to him, look, I understand where you're coming from. There are some people who want to have their day of rest, their Shabbat, their Shabbos. Yeah, you want your Shabbos, but the real truth is, you also were on vacation the other 6 days of the week, I told him. So, but he's not like that. He's working hard, really 6. He's earned that 7th. And I told him, and I feel like this too, very honestly, if you're really working hard, really pushing, really going all week, it's very hard come candlelighting to stop. Now, I know even if you believe that God really controls your results and that he can make you successful or money or whatever else you want, even when you pause for this day, it's still very hard momentum-wise for a person to stop. I told him that, and I respect that. It's sort of like, let's say you have a fan that's plugged into the wall, and it's blowing like, I don't know, a zillion RPM a second. The fan's going, it's going like that, right? And then all of a sudden you pull it out from the wall. Even if you pull it out, the fan still keeps going in a circle because you have so much momentum. So I told him, look, I understand what you're saying. I told him, okay, that was one thing. You have to validate, because sometimes a person has an emotion or a feeling, and you just have to make sure, let them know that, like, you know where they're coming from, because I feel that way too. I go so full force all week that come Shabbos, it's kind of like a runaway train, and I got to stop on a dime, So I feel that. That's one thing I told him. The second thing I told him was, talk to him about gefilte fish. What are you talking about, gefilte fish? So I told him, explained to him that there's an interesting custom we have almost worldwide in the Jewish people to have fish on Friday night, and on Shabbos at different meals on Shabbat to eat fish. Some people have gefilte fish, salmon, different things. A lot of us like sushi, but that's not for now. So what's the custom of fish come from? So it's quite interesting, actually. Some of the commentaries explain that the Indian of fish, the concept of fish, has to do with this. Like, you would think, I don't know if I buy I don't even buy my fish. I give my wife money and she goes to buy fish. But like, if I would go buy fish, a real fish, I'm not used to doing that, but if you would buy a fish, certainly in the olden days, when you cut open the big fish that you would buy at the market or catch, if you're a fisherman, you open it up and you know what you find inside? You often would find a little fish. If the big fish that you caught, or maybe bought, but if the fish you caught had just had lunch, if you open it up, you sometimes find inside of that fish the meal it had just had before. Okay, so far so good. So what does that have to do with anything? So it's a known phenomenon that actually, sometimes when you find that fish inside, you'll find that it's backwards. In other words, you would think that the big fish is chasing this little fish and it caught it. And so the head of the big fish and the little fish are lined up inside when you catch it, and that the fins are facing in the same direction. Isn't that what you would think? That's what I would have thought. But that's not really what happens. It's a known phenomenon in the world of marine biology and fishermen, that the little fish is often backwards. It's like if this is the head side of the big fish and this is its fin, or my knuckles, but it's a fin, it's actually backwards. The face, the front face, the head side is facing the fins of the big one, and the tail, the fin of the little one, is facing the mouth. So what is that about? So it's actually interesting. What happens is, and I was once taught when I was the rabbi at University of Miami, a long time ago, where there's a famous school of marine biology. I was once giving a lecture on this on campus, and there was a person there with a PhD in marine biology who raised their hand. I was like a 24-year-old rabbi. The person raised their hand, said, "Hi, I'm such and such. I have a doctoral degree here at the School of Marine Biology." And they're like, "Yeah, this fish thing, the rabbi's saying it's true." And everyone's like, "How did you know?" I'm like, "I don't know, it's Torah." That's how I know. That's how I know it. Or you can get a PhD in marine biology. But anyway, the question is, why does that happen? So the reason this happens, and I told this to the guy on the phone yesterday, the reason this happens is that the little fish is actually being chased around by the big fish. The big guy is going, chasing all around in the ocean or whatever it is, the river. The little one is chasing, and he's putting in its efforts. And then what happens at the last second? At the last second, the big fish, who has its mouth open, Hashem causes the little fish to swim into the mouth of the big fish. I guess his Waze or GPS wasn't working, and the little guy swims into the mouth of the big guy. And that's why you find it backwards. So what does this have to do with gefilte fish and Shabbos and work and Judaism and all of this? So the answer is this, all week long, we're working and going and pushing and hustling and grinding and trying to make a few dollars. Some of us trying to make a living. Others of us are trying to make a killing. But we're working, we're pushing, we're going, we're doing our thing. We have to know that our success and our money and all forms of success, not just financial, it comes from Hashem. So, we think we're the one catching the fish, so to speak. It's really not the case. It's that we're giving chase and hustling and pushing and going, and it's really Hashem that causes the fish to swim to us. That's why it often happens that, you work hard and you put in efforts. You think your money's going to come from over here and it comes from over there. You try doing this and your success comes from over that, right? And that's part of the reason why we have a custom of having fish on Shabbos. Kind of cool, right? I got to go to the bris, but part of the reason there's a custom of it is because like a person could be sitting down at the Friday night table, come Shabbos, and you're thinking like, I'm going to stop. This is messing up my game, I got to stop for a day. I don't want to break. I want to work. So the answer is God is the one who controls your results. So sit there and eat your fish. And remember, your job was to swim for those 6 days and chase what you needed to chase. But ultimately, God will cause to swim to you your parnasa, your livelihood. Interesting idea. So that's a little bit what I told him. So as you're looking at your gefilte fish, I told him, or sushi, whatever he has, think about that idea. A couple more sources I shared with him on the phone. He's a learned guy. Some of them I bring in short and sweet on the parsha. Getting a little glare over there from the window. But some of them I bring in short and sweet on the parsha. In Parshas Nitzavim, these are some sources from the sages about this topic, that you never lose by doing what God told you to do. So there's a midrash in Dvarim Rabbah, which says, She'ein Adam Shamei li umafsid, which means that the She'ein Adam, there is no such thing as a person, Shomei Ali, that listens to me, God, umafsid, and has a hefsid, a loss. You don't lose out by doing what God told you to do, ethically, morally, or whatever else. You don't lose by doing what your Creator told you to do. I also bring over here, in Parshas Nitzavim, the same idea There's a passage in the Talmud, Tractate Sota 15a. It's over there in the context of the karbanis, the offerings in the temple. It says, She'ein chayte niskar. It means that a sinner, I write, shall not profit from his malfeasance. Now, malfeasance is a big word for wrongdoing. I don't know, it's a lawyerly kind of word. Maybe I was doing lawyer work that day when I wrote malfeasance. But basically, a sinner is not going to profit from his wrongdoing. It's in the Talmud, it's in the Midrash, it's all over the place. A couple other quick sources I gave the guy to work on to understand that being a good Jew and being loyal to Hashem and doing what you're supposed to spiritually, it's not going to mess you up. In fact, it's going to add to your success. It's not going to take away from it. I'll give you some other sources I told him. In the book of Yeshua, the book of Joshua, right in the beginning, in chapter 1, verse 7, it says over there very clearly, to be strong and courageous, observe, do according to the entire Torah, so on and so forth. It says, don't deviate to the right or the left. And then the words say, in order that you may succeed wherever you go. That's the book of Joshua, chapter 1, verse 7. In the next sentence, it says that the book of the Torah should not depart from your mouth. And then it says, you should observe to do according to all that's in it, for then you will make your way successful. That's what it says. Ki az tatzliach. You do the Torah, God says, but ki az tatzliach, and then you're going to be successful. One other quick source, because I am not going to be any later than I already am. I was telling him also in Torah portion Maseh, in the book of Numbers, Bamidbar, chapter 33, in the book of Bamidbar, in verse 2, it says, Moshe wrote their goings forth according to their journeys at the word of Hashem. What does that mean? And I'm just giving you a lot of sources, but if you're smart, you're going to work on it and chew on it, you'll understand what I mean. Over here in Parshas Maseh, the Torah records the 42 different stops and journeys the Jewish people had in the 40 years going from Mitzrayim, Egypt, to Eretz Yisrael, the land of Israel. And the Torah says, Moshe Masehim al pi Hashem. The Torah records their journeys al pi Hashem, according to the word of Hashem. Because what happens in life, a lot of times we have ideas, I want to come and go and do and make, and I want to thrust out into the world. Especially if you're a guy, and especially if you're a masculine male guy. You want to go do. That's the way we operate. But all of your going out and your journeys, they have to be al pi Hashem, according to the word of Hashem. So yeah, I understand, come Shabbos, you're like, oh, I want to go do. But your journeys, you journeyed, you worked, you hustled, I hope, for 6 days. Got to stop. Because when you're allowed to move as a Jew, your journeys, it's al pi Hashem. So if he said work for 6, you work for 6. But he says stop, okay, I have to. And that's really part of the test of being a Jew in this world. That your movements, your goings, al pi Hashem, financially, socially, got to stop up to a point when God says no. And then God gives you the green light, and then you can keep going. For the rest of the world, they don't operate like that. But that's part of emunah, faith we have in Hashem, and it's part of the test of life. Anyway, gave you a lot of ideas, I think, to work on, chew on, review them over. This is Rabbi Shlomo Zalman Bregman from the Jewish Executive Learning Network and BregmanSuccess.com. Have a terrific day. If you haven't already, I encourage you to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Just look around the page, find that little red button, click on it, and I will, God willing, send you some wisdom, insight, inspiration, God willing, on an everyday basis, okay? Except for Shabbat. You know what I mean. Bye.